Start. All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Jack, Rossi, and myself were present, and Larry's item is online, right, Larry?
Present, yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We want to make sure we have a quorum. So the first item is 37 Central Street.
It's actually 27. But I think it's confused. Because we have both. We have
Right.
both places.
Right, well, it's funny because when I looked at the property yesterday, I'm like, I don't think that's the address, but I know it's the shops. Go ahead. Come on up.
Yes.
Thank you for the replete graphics. That's helpful.
Okay.
And we don't always get.
So yeah, we want to do an awning on the big thing's the awning on the front and on the side. Porch, and I think it depicts it pretty well in the photos there.
Yeah.
And then
I guess my only concern, I certainly understand the side. I know the sun really hits there. That and people are always hanging out. Did you have any comments at all?
I liked it a lot. I think
Well,
in general, I just think adding a little color to the village.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, and this is kind of classic, so. No, I was just curious, to kind of visualize it on the whole streetscape, but.
oh yeah, it's a good idea.
Because I have a feeling what you might do is, prompt other owners to.
Yeah.
There are some on it now.
I mean, one of them's yellow,
Maybe they're a little-
yellow, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's a little bit, and it's just sort of blue and white.
Yeah. Well, it's nice too, because when you're looking down the street. To have those different colors, you sort of eventually get to know that that's your store and the bookstore.
Yeah.
And then you're replacing the windows, is that right?
So there's two windows that were taken out. Go back up a little bit.
Once it turned the
On
lights.
the second floor, so they're sort of still there on the outside. They're the ones that stay below the new windows, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also just want to say, sorry, Scott, you sent me the update. They're gonna be in this presentation, but I had already sent it there.
Yeah, that's what I figured, yeah.
So just let me know.
Okay, so those are, the one on the left is boarded up from the inside, and the one on the right is kind of completely boarded up. So I wanted to sort of bring the window back to make that office,
Okay.
that office space there.
So you're basically, as opposed to having these blind interior windows, there'll be actual windows.
Yeah.
Okay,
And those are, I don't know if you want to know what they were, but those are Marvin, kind of like what I'm doing in 37 that you approved last year. It's a pretty nice window with but it would be white. The other ones you know, they're black. These would be white. And better than the windows. All those windows up above are all vinyl.
yeah, they're really cheap,
Yeah, unfortunately, so,
but you're living with them.
yeah. So,
It's just these two that you'll replace because
Yes.
you want to open them. Okay, I'm with you. And then the back you showed too, is there anything happening there?
Well, yeah, to the back. So I did that for you to show how it is now, which is pretty disappear there. So see that window there?
Yeah,
That's all falling out.
on the left,
On the right, right behind that.
yeah,
Oh, the decorative
bullseye.
window.
Yeah, the decorative window. So I was gonna,
those aren't original, are they?
I don't think so. I was thinking of just taking those out and just, because when I had to redo that section, it's all rotted out, stuff. It's when we just bought the property, so it's about to fall out of the ground. So I wanted to possibly do a door, so I had a door there.
Yeah, clearly
Yeah.
they're not original to the opening
Yeah.
here.
And then on the other side where the other one is, I want to put heat pumps there. Right on the left.
So that was shown in one of these.
Yeah, I have a.
Yeah,
Oh, I
second,
see,
next
I see
page.
what you're doing. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's wrong, not that great.
we're going to have to come up with, we as a committee, some kind of guidance, on these, because I noticed, no offense to, one of the, second or later, they're not, it's not actually on the agenda, but I'd like to screen some of this mechanical equipment when it's highly obvious. This is a lot obvious part, but we went through this kind of thing
Yeah.
behind the creamery, the old creamery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you thinking of putting in?
I can definitely screen it, that's fine, I mean, it's pretty. It's pretty bad back there.
It is
I
bad.
don't want to make it any worse, but,
Yeah,
if you want, I'd be happy to. screen
I see,
it.
so you have the overhang, so maybe
Yeah.
something.
And
that
I
drops.
tried to show that photo, if you go back to the car photo. I mean, most of the time, when
People
the
are.
time for
Mm.
some of it,
Yeah.
for the most part,
Yeah.
I guess that doesn't. So it's not something you see from a distance. it's
Not
when
from
you
the
walk
public
by.
way too much.
But I'd be happy to put like a wood sort of trellis.
Trellis,
type
yeah.
of a thing, just
I
to,
think so, that should
yeah,
leave enough air for intake
yeah,
and at least,
yeah,
and.
Yeah,
And
sure.
you've got the structure above it, maybe hanging from.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with
Um,
all this.
good with me as well.
Larry, any comments?
No, I'm fine with it all. Thank you.
Okay, so I move that we approve as submitted, with the addition of some kind of screen
yeah.
in front of the HVAC equipment.
I'll
Second,
second that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay,
Okay,
thank you so much.
thank
Yeah.
you.
I just sent the second applicant, presumably. I don't see her here.
Yeah.
Do you want to move on to the end? And we'll see if
Sure.
she arrives.
Sure. Should we go to item C?
Item C, the houses.
No, it's the windows
Yeah.
for, long our windows.
Thanks. I'm Ben Foley, work at Woodstock Inn Resort, a representative. So the application for C is, we have 3 homes that are right across from the Woodstock Inn on 4th Street. 6, 10, 12, 14, 10 actually has, that building has like 3 addresses on it. 10, 14. They are all currently wood windows, a pretty big mix of 2/2s. There's some 6/6s. There's some 2/1s. It's kind of a hodgepodge
Yeah.
of windows over the years. And our goal is to replace all the windows on the middle house, which is 6, which is the greenhouse, this fall, and then do the other houses next year. So we're just applying to do them all at the same time.
Mhm.
Same window, 2/2, aluminum clad with windows, they'd be white. And yeah, anything that's not 2/2, we switch to a 2/2, because that's the predominant window feature there. So
202.
yeah, and it'd be similarly the divided lights with the spacer bar and the interior and exterior.
I mean, we can't dictate that the windows be preserved, but I definitely lean that side. I think there's a lot of misinformation about energy conservation or the extent of it.
Oh, it's more than just energy compensation in my mind. It's maintenance, it's lead,
Yeah.
it's usability by tenants. Those are just as important as energy.
So these units have lead in them?
all the houses are historic houses, so, I would imagine every window has been on it.
So I'm not as familiar with windows themselves. Can they simply be removed? Or do you have to first do lead abatement before you can?
The company that's replacing the window has done like
Do that.
correct IRC standards, so, they're removing them. It's not as intense as, scraping paint or letting, but there are procedures that they go through to protect tenants inside and make sure that there's nothing going on the outside.
Are these original windows or have they been replaced over the
I'm
years?
sure some of them
Yeah.
are, but I imagine there's a good mix
Yeah.
in there, because,
Yeah.
there's some additions onto these houses, and some,
Has the contractor done an inventory of the windows?
like how many windows on each one?
Yeah, I mean, you must have had to do it right to do it.
Yeah,
estimate.
on the green one, we are hiring out, and on the other two, likely we're gonna do
You'll
it
do it
in-house.
yourselves.
Yeah, so I think we have 24 on the greenhouse, that we're doing this year. Or 26, sorry.
The profile for the windows, the replacement unit, I don't think that was included, was it?
Is it?
Yeah, that's the type of window, it'd be white.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's the last page. Oh, there we go.
The staff housing back.
it is, yeah.
These are, vinyl flat.
Aluminum flat.
Did I read that it said vinyl? Cause that was one of the things that threw me through. Metal sounds a lot better. Is that what the intent is?
Yeah, the intent's all aluminum flat, I don't
Okay.
recall writing vinyl, but. Yeah, they're all wood windows, wood interiors, and then wood outsides, but aluminum flat.
Yeah. Well, to Jack's point. I understand the rationale, and like I said, at the end of the day, we can't, we can't necessarily stop the replacement, but. Sort of my personal crusade, that we end up, a situation like we just had is, it's kind of obvious things have been replaced. But when we do original fabric, it's great if it can be kept, and I think that a lot of energy stuff is been tweaked really well over 50 years, so that, most people are getting these huge savings. That said, these are living accommodations and the inn needs to provide decent housing, so I can appreciate all that. Did you have any comments, Larry?
I didn't. Thank you, Phil.
You did not. Is that what you said?
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
correct. Did not.
I didn't hear the not part, but then I figured the way you emphasized it. I guess you're doing the greenhouse on Cross Street first, is that it?
Yeah, 4th Street,
I'm sorry.
that is number 6. So we're doing that one first.
And that one is gonna be done through contract?
That one's gonna be done, contract, yeah.
Okay. I guess my question then might be. Like I said. It'd be interesting to see. The survey from a standpoint of, cause it looks like these in the gable might actually be. Original, but one never knows, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's kind of attic unconditioned space, so my guess is they never got switched out.
That's very typical. So it'd be great if something like that could be repaired and kept with storms, especially if you're not. Are you using those spaces for habit?
The 3rd level, that one is currently not used. In the future, looking to renovate the space, but nothing.
Not yet.
Yeah.
I guess that would be my preference if at least some elements that appear to be original can be maintained in locations that aren't going to be detrimental to your program. So if the attic can, they can get you a decent storm window,
Yeah,
fix it up, make it look decent, then at least that remains.
I appreciate your inclination to preserve original buildings, but in these cases, I think the storm windows on the original buildings look worse than a replacement.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
I would see you,
yeah,
doing the first two levels
Yeah.
as you've submitted.
yeah,
But I guess I would ask the vendor if the upper windows could be repaired without greater cost to you and, in exterior storms,
yeah.
new storms.
Yeah, I don't think there's necessarily a need, since the upstairs is in condition, to even replace those windows to start off with.
So maybe they can just clean them up,
So that,
repaint them.
yeah,
That would, at least, it seems to me, allow the building to tell its story a little bit for a more discerning viewer.
Yeah.
Of which I know there aren't any, but for those of us who
There's
are,
one here, we know that.
two on another committee.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, you wanna make the motion then?
Yeah, sure. I move we approve the application to replace the windows on the first and second floor, and ask the applicant to preserve anything on the third floor that's within reason.
That might even hold true for 10 Court Street.
Yeah, any of the structures that apply, I think,
Yeah.
would be pertinent.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, aye. Okay. Thanks, Joe.
I have not heard back.
Okay, this is for the church, right, for you?
It is, I wonder if we want to finish up with
Sure.
them.
Sure, that's fine.
Or
that works.
looking
All right, well, that was the easy one. So, we have two buildings adjacent to the tavern wing of
Right.
the inn, 14 and 16 South. I'm assuming everybody is familiar with them. They, have, the building on the left, you're looking at like the, first image, or that one, yeah, right there. Building on the left is called the Beach House, or 14 South, and the one on the right is called the Smith House, or 16 South. I think I just wrote 14 and 16 South on these. The Beach House was part of the inn when it was originally purchased in 68 by Lawrence, and then the Smith House, I think, came into use at the resort around 2000 or so. They've both been mothballed for 20 plus years. It's my understanding in the early 2000s, both of them got mothballed. They, I think, supplied a couple different uses. They were originally, it was the innkeeper's house. Beach was the innkeeper of the Woodstock Inn when it was first purchased. So that was and then it went into employee housing. And then in the early 2000s, there were some big mechanical failures in both of them. And at the time, what I can piece together is that there wasn't a housing issue at the time, and that the amount to renovate the structures was kind of cost prohibitive to kind of keep using that as employee housing. So they have since then remained vacant. There is the backside of 16 South, the right side building is a garage that's used sparingly for storage right now. Our activity center, so we're spikes in there, and fly fishing gear, but the main house, pretty much all but vacant. They are on the National Register of Contributing Factors, and I did hear the plan that I submitted was what I found on the state historic site, but that is not the correct the date version, the most recent one from 2018
Right,
map, which is on the town website. So the historic district is a little bit bigger than what that might was, but that was just to show that it was on.
Yeah.
In that boundary,
Okay.
but it's still in the boundary.
right.
They are both individually listed. And the process that we have to go to get approval to take them down is kind of threefold. We have to go through local permitting, so you and BDRB next week. We have to go through state historic preservation, and we have to go through Act 250 to get them down. So we've applied for all three pretty much at the same time. Everybody likes to know what everybody else thinks in these cases, even though it doesn't necessarily technically matter. So Act 250 permitting will start in another couple weeks, because I'm going to wait until we get a resolution from this board and the next board to report to them. They don't necessarily require local permitting, but they like to know what's happening with permitting. They get most of their input from the Department of Historic Preservation, and we submitted a packet to the state in July that did analysis of the two buildings from a structural perspective, from a reuse perspective, from the mitigation efforts that we would have to undergo to take down the two buildings, and from ability to relocate the buildings, and submitted that package to the Department of State for Preservation. And we had a call with them last week, and they are going to be giving an official response, but have indicated that they are going to recommend to Act 250 that they allow us to take down two buildings. They go through a Middlebury analysis, I think it's called, to determine if there is an adverse undue effect of removing the two buildings. So they have their own kind of criteria. And it's about policy mitigation, what the kind of plan is, and what we've done to kind of account for the loss of the historic structures. So they have kind of agreed that our analysis of the reuse of the structures, or the economic viability of the structures and the structural integrity of the structures, can all be mitigated effectively. So they haven't formally written their response letter. They actually don't give a permit. They just give their recommendation to Act 250, and Act 250 takes their recommendation as far as if they're going to approve it or not. I've been told that Act 250 kind of rarely disagrees with what they say as far as taking it down. They have a different analysis of mitigation than our regulations. So our mitigation is more about what the reuse plan is versus what the loss is. And so
They being the state historic preservation on this?
correct, yeah. So they weren't necessarily concerned with what we're going to reuse the site for, what the landscape plan was, or what any addition or later building plan would be. They're looking at what are the steps to mitigate the loss of the history. So we've agreed to do 4 steps in consultation with them for the mitigation. And there's one is updating the current registry of Woodstock. So in 2021 was the last time it was updated. So resubmitting that to, not sure if it's the Department of the Interior or National Parks, who oversees the historic registry.
Well, first goes to the SHPO, and then they forward it to the Park Service.
So we'll be updating that, hiring a consultant to update that. It's not an extensive process. It's basically making sure that there hasn't been any change to basically this map, the buildings that have been done. There is a historic package that we have to do, which we have mostly done on the 2 buildings, and that's kind of doing an interior analysis, historical survey, a photo documentation of the building, so that we can give that to Department of Preservation and likely any local history center, so that there's documentation of what the buildings were. Third was we have to do a determination of eligibility of all of the resort structures that are outside of the historic preservation district. And there are 10 to 12 buildings that we own that potentially qualify for the National Register. So we would hire somebody to do basically analysis of those structures, and do a report and determination of, eligibility, for each one of those structures. Most of those are employee housing. I think there's 10 employee housing, units. There's a couple barns, that we have, that aren't associated with housing. Things like the country club, athletic club, and S6 don't qualify just because they're newer than 50 years old. So pretty much anything in that map that's less than 50 years old, unless it's been significantly altered, pretty much qualifies for the register, so to speak. So even a motel from the 60s that I don't find particularly attractive qualifies in their eyes because it speaks to a specific era and has certain characteristics of it that make a team. So that's the third, and the last one. They just kind of wanted to see if we would do it is put up a historical marker of the inn on the front of the inn. So similar to the one that's on the green, a cast iron marker would be installing a sign on the front of the inn, likely along the green, but set back from the road a little bit, that spoke to the history of the inn itself. And that's a pretty easy process, and something we'd be happy to do as well. So they looked at those four mitigation things, and then again, like they have a Middlebury analysis where they basically look at the what the loss is, and determine if it's justified or not. I want to get the correct terminology. They look at whether the adverse effect is undue or not undue. And they agree that the adverse effect of taking these buildings down is not undue. So the I don't know if it's if you need to go into the specifics on all those different criteria that they've looked at: structural, reuse, adaptive. That's part of your purview, or if you're just looking at the site plan, I can keep going into just what the site plan is right now. There is, so they're right across from the school. The resort owns the majority of the properties to the bottom, right across the street, except for one house, the Page House, which is kind of right next to the parking lot of the admin building. And then obviously the entire in block. These are the last two homes kind of on the in block. Historically, the inn was at the front, and there was more structures kind of where the inn is now, where the spa and the tavern addition are. And the elementary school was right across the way. The two homes are kind of outside of the courtyard, if you will, of the resort. The lot to the right of it on Cross Street is a green space that sits in front of a barn called the pole barn that's on the right. And then the tavern wing kind of butts right up against them, and there's a fence that separates these houses from kind of the back courtyard. So if you're on the in-campus, you really don't notice that the houses are there. And the plan is to remove both houses in their entirety. Can you go to the site plan, proposed site plan? Yeah, so the site plan right now has a couple existing large trees that I want to keep. The box elder is a question mark, but there's a gigantic red oak that's really not drawn to scale, kind of in the back, on the bottom. The red oak is on the top of the 14 right now, and the existing box elders to the right of 16. I initially want to preserve those just because I don't want it to seem like a bare site taking it down. The oak is a very nice tree. Box elders I'm not a huge fan of, but it's a big kind of established tree. But if the site is disturbed enough that we're concerned that the health of the tree is going to decline, we would probably take that down and extend. South Street has a pretty predominant tree presence with sugar maples, and Cross Street has a pretty predominant street tree presence with Fremont maples that we would extend along the street. And then the tavern wing is, basically needs to be screened, and so, planting a grove of white birch trees. And service berries behind a breakout fencing that's currently in back, but for the most part, the plan is to leave the site open, and park-like, there's no imminent plans to develop it, there's no plans for programming, it's meant to kind of transition, until a future use is determined. While there are no imminent plans to develop it, there's always conversations of how the resort has to adapt in the future to allow for more programming or more guest space or guest rooms. But we don't have anything that we're proposing that's going to go there. In 2018, we went through an exercise, and we're on our way to proposing a different use of the site, and kind of went through a bigger community push to kind of get support, but in the end, pulled back because of changing the economics of group business, and then COVID hit and kind of ruined that model, which was a good thing. That we didn't build more space at the time because that model really changed. So what the site will be in the future is kind of to be determined, but right now we know that there's no kind of economic viability of the two houses as they exist. The cost to renovate, we had schematic drawings drawn up of 16 South, and got a contractor to estimate renovation into guest houses, and the return on investment wasn't even close. There was price tag of upper $2.8 million for 14 South and over $3 million to renovate 16 South. They're both structures are pretty much complete, got rehabs, all new, roof, electrical, plumbing, interior. You basically got the buildings down to the studs. 16 South needs a new foundation. All the structure is grossly undersized, and so even in their most basic reuse, there isn't any economic vitality to use the buildings even as storage, because there's no working electrical system that would pass inspection. We have to redo all electrical and heating systems. ADA accessibility, there's a couple feet of. Both basements got completely flooded from Irene. They were vacant at the time, and so they're kind of filled with silt still. Not that whole basement, but the bottom's still. So any mechanical systems are kind of pretty much non-existent on the site. We did go through an exercise to try to relocate the buildings. There's the economics of moving buildings these days is unless it's like right adjacent, it typically isn't feasible, notwithstanding the cost to renovate the buildings. But even if they're good buildings, we don't own any property in the historic district that the buildings could move to, and that's what the Department of Historic Preservation wants to see is there a site that can be relocated in the historic district. We own some land on Maple Street at the end that we wanted to investigate, but couldn't get any moving company to give us quotes because they said it would be not feasible because it crosses electrical lines. Forget how many times, but it's like 6 or 7 times, and there's 6 well-established large trees that overhang the road that you can't move anything down Maple Street. So that was not a feasible solution. We reached out to neighbors who had potentially vacant lots. Didn't get anyone interested in moving in a house close by. We did have somebody that was interested in maybe moving it out of town. Again, the economics threw a wrench in that. It just was not feasible to move the buildings. We had to list them on the paper. So for the month, we listed 2 houses for sale for $1 each in the Valley News and the Standard. Got a few calls, but it was all people not kind of completely understanding what the scope was. There were, a couple living in their parents' house basement that wanted a spot to live, and most people were just curious what buildings we were referring to because we didn't say the address on the advertisement. So didn't get any viable solution to move the buildings either. So again, kind of timeline for us is going through permitting, local permitting. And, we expect a letter from State Historic Preservation, with their, findings to give along to, Act 250, and then we'll be finalizing our Act 250 permit. Which is kind of already gone out, but we're just waiting a few things to tie up the final permit before that clock starts.
The way I understand 250, the certified local government, which would be the Woodstock Village Historic Preservation Commission, is sort of an arm of the state. That's why they certify. So I think that the other group I chair is probably wrote before, which is the HBC. So I'm curious, whoever at 250 is involved, to get in touch. I got a note from, let's see, what is this now? Perhaps it's your, in fact, it's your, Chris, this got it today. Mentioned this.
Yeah,
Oh, Greg.
Act 250 permit, I can look it up too. It
Greg
goes-
Sosinski,
what's that?
Greg Sosinski,
I do not, is he Act 250 or is he Department of Historic Preservation?
he's, Department of Historic Preservation.
Yeah, let me see, I have admittedly talked to a lot of people on this, and, I'm not sure if I talked to him or if it was, Laura Trishman is the person that, State Department.
Yes, she's the preservation
Yeah.
officer.
So I had a call with her and I want to say it was Craig last Friday, but, I can't multitask at
Okay.
the same time, looking up, stuff on my phone and talking at the same time, but, they, yeah, again, they basically write their, review as an opinion to give to Act 250.
Sure.
And so, and Act 250 takes into account, yeah, their.
So
basically
your
their-
understanding is right now, the SHPO is putting that together
When they're,
based on.
yeah, I don't want to overcommit because I haven't gotten their
I hear
official
you.
letter, so I don't
I'm
want,
just
I don't want to put words in their mouth,
Right.
but yeah, we talked through the project. They agreed with our findings of the reason why we should take the building. They agreed with that the adverse effect was not undue. And on Friday, we had a conversation about the mitigation because we proposed
Okay,
certain mitigation, efforts to their concern on mitigation. Again, it's not what it looks like, it's what, like, how do you lessen the effect of the historic loss,
so
right?
this is
Yeah.
my profession, so
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
completely aware.
Yes,
Not so much the nuances, here in Vermont. But because, there is no federal money involved. The process you described is typical for a federal project. Vermont's unique in that the 250 Act precedes the National Historic Preservation Act, so it's been a good insulator over the years. I'll sort of try to monitor this. Greg, I see he wrote me back and he put a link to what, I guess what you've submitted to 250, so I'll take a look at it. I mean, personally, I feel it's very difficult to endorse demolition, particularly when there's no inherent, like, impending project for that site, just grass. But that said, I don't know that we need to take action today. I don't know if there's any action to take. I appreciate your coming before us and alerting us, because I heard this sort of through rumor mill, and I was, like, I haven't heard anything, and then lo and behold, your agenda came, and it's on there, so I don't know if you have comments.
No, I mean, it's a huge decision. Ben, you've certainly done your homework and from a
Right.
practical
And that's
standpoint,
a
it
very
makes
good-
100% sense to me. From our perspective on the board, I think we're looking at an aesthetic and a village context relationship or understanding how this affects it. And losing those two buildings with the potential of the inn expanding. And I'm thinking of the juxtaposition of that large inn building to the house across from Prospect. I just think it begins to change the character of the village to some degree. And not to say it's ever going there, but it's obviously an open door for that potential.
Yeah, the studies that we did in 2018 were basically to address that. There were some hypothetical programming things that we're looking at. It was a combination of event space. It was a combination of an indoor pool, you know, trying to get more amenities at the resort. And there was 4 studies that were done. I didn't want to even show any of them just because people like to latch on to things. And like, this is what's going to happen at the end, but the entire process was to address that issue of the transition between a 3-story large brick building to a residential neighborhood. Because right now, the tavern to the houses is completely out of scale. And so the entire, those volumetric studies for how to make that transition appropriate. And I can appreciate wanting to see what's going to go there. We're not even anywhere. We're not even, we're not even looking at those.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally have a
That
very,
might be another stipulation that I would request, that is, that as designs developed, the HPC is, you know, kept informed.
yeah, I mean, we're not even talking about developing plans at this point, but
I
you know,
understand.
when the time comes, I feel confident that the process of going through design review and EDRB, I think, I have a very strong personal relationship with the resort. Been there 15 years, involved in every building project. We have, again, I have no idea when we push something through, but I find that every project that the resort has worked on in the village has really gone through a long process to make sure it, you know, is.
Well, that was
responsive.
Rockefeller's vision, right,
Yeah.
to preserve the village, so. Okay, well, this is helpful, and I think what Jack said is true, or isn't true, I want to echo. It does sound like a lot of homework was done. There was investigation as to the opposite of what does this all mean, so that's beneficial. I find it hard with the housing shortage that lesser monies couldn't go into those structures and provide some worker housing, but that's another topic, obviously.
You know, there are more economical ways to provide workforce housing than those
I believe
two
that.
houses, which is something we're pursuing. I'm not presenting that as part of this because it's not be really connected to it, but the economics of those 2 houses is way up.
So Larry, did you want to say anything?
No, I think the 2 of you covered that nicely. Yeah, I agree. It's kind of a bit of a tragic loss, but I appreciate you explaining the rationale and the options that were explored.
Okay, so we'll hear back from you once you hear from the state.
I guess it depends. I'm going through the BDRB next week. So I'm sure they're gonna want an update on what you guys think or not think. We can supply the information from the state when it comes. They'll write a letter to Act 250. I'm hoping by next week, because we gave them a new draft of what that mitigation looks like. So happy to supply that when it comes through. And we'll have it, I'm hoping by next week's ERB.
So our next meeting is
It's October 1st.
yeah, I guess I'd ask if we could just get an update at least at that point. if we haven't been in touch.
What's today, October 1st?
Wednesday?
I will not be able to be at that meeting. So I can supply it, but I won't be able to be in for that.
Okay.
And I can still put it on the agenda and
Yeah.
talk about what.
I'm feeling a little at a loss too, not having Ellen and Bev's input on this.
Yeah,
You know,
this is kind of important. We don't deal with demolitions every day, so. That's why I guess my initial reaction was, well, I don't think we need to take any action. If you do, in terms of going before the VDRP, I guess you can say the members that were present weren't supportive, but we're only advisory. What could I say? And I'd really like to see the report from the Chabot and 250 before we cast any action.
It sounds like everyone's sort of in the same boat, but they want to hear
Yeah, like,
everyone else.
Act 250 likes to hear, again, there's no requirement that they, if they can decide one way or the other, they could, disregard state report, sort of preservation, kind of been told.
Well,
that they
How about
really
put the other
disagree.
way, what if they didn't, and they came back and put more restrictions on, can they do that?
Act 250, I think, can do a lot, so.
Yeah,
It depends on what the commission
Evidence in the
said.
town.
I don't think that our regulations have anything to do with Act 250, they're kind of
No,
independent, so
right.
regardless of what they say.
Right,
And that, both applications are coming at the same time.
so ours
we
is
can find one.
advisory
Yeah.
to the development board, as you know,
Yeah.
and I guess,
And then even if DRB says yes, it sounds like Act 250 could still say no.
If Act 250 says no, it's dead, if DRB says no, it's dead, and Act 250 says yes, so like we need both. But one agreeing or not agreeing doesn't affect the other. Shouldn't affect the other, based on regulations and updated criteria to look at, so.
in the planning commission
They wouldn't be involved.
at all. Because it's in the village.
Because this is just issuing a zoning permit, you would go to them with some sort of legislative change.
So do you have what you need from today's meeting? Not necessarily the answer you wanted, but
Well, I know when I go through BDRB, they're gonna ask what, and then I ask Emily, they're gonna ask what is.
Yeah.
What is
we,
Vdac?
we're
So-
not in favor of the demolition. I mean,
No.
yeah, I mean,
With the information, at least speaking personally, that I have right now, and without feedback from additional members, I just feel I'm ill prepared to make a final yay or nay.
I mean, demolition is sort of a last resort and benign neglect on the part of the inn. It's not reason to, I mean, in the Secretary of the Interior statement, that's not permitted by federal agencies. They can be fined if they're not maintaining their properties. So there's a unique relationship here between the town and the foundation. I understand and accept that, but I did see, what's 12? It's 12 Bishop Pound. That one was like painted last year, and I actually felt
Maybe
really
3 years
good.
ago. Yeah, so we've been doing like routine maintenance on them. But there's a difference between routine maintenance and like significant investment.
Right,
So there's never. It's not like we all of a sudden like, oh, we can't, like, there's no economic model. We've known for,
like a while at least.
since they've been mothballed, that there's been no economic model that makes sense to be able to put that much money to save the structure for any reasonable use for the resort. And so any, repairs that, painting, because we're basically at a point now where we have to either, drop $300,000 and redo the roofs, repaint things, or, let them fall to the ground. But it's, since we've done the due diligence with kind of the economics of it, we're at a point where it just doesn't make sense of doing any routine maintenance anymore. Love that we painted it, cleaned
I
it up.
would really like-
$30,000, that kind of,
I would like to see what you or the consultant has outlined as the steps that have taken place to date, and I think we do owe that courtesy to our fellow members, so. In terms of the message to the village development, we're in a position. Hopefully by the first week. we'll be-
Sure.
Okay,
right, thanks.
thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Are y'all gonna talk about it? I think, no.
Yeah.
Good. I don't even know that it's visible from the road, but we're talking about a playground.
Hi, good evening.
I'm Nathan Hall, with Hillside Catholic School Programs, next week.
Local contractor. Good. Is it at the bottom near the river? Or-
So that dark box just to the left of this, the main structure.
It's a little difficult to see, but on the, that would be the west side.
Then white, but
There it is.
white.
Oh, you said you printed this first. Or- It's in here.
Probably the spring spot.
No, it's here. Yeah, there. Okay. So are we,
So we're looking at the materials
Here's the
being,
church.
these are the anchors
Yeah.
and that's the gate.
Correct.
And this is what the rest of the fence is.
The yellow is the fence line or the white? Then,
Oh, the yellow is the parcel. itself.
Okay.
It's the-
and the white is the, so in other words, behind that parsonage, you're gonna enclose some space. there. Yeah, I mean, I live across the street, so I know the property pretty well. It's, yeah, the land drop tremendous.
Yeah.
So you're gonna go on the lower part.
Yeah, just at the tip, so there's the pre-existing playground right there, and that sort of natural barrier.
Mhm.
What we are looking to do is put in a fence in that area.
So they can walk out,
So, yeah, so we would have access to outside
Yeah.
activity.
and the fence is how high?
4 feet is regulated for, license.
And very big piece of property. Do you have,
No,
comments?
it's in the back, no,
Yeah, it's pretty concealed.
yeah.
For a couple summers ago, Pentangle had like. There. Yeah,
Yeah, I can see that, they'll, yeah.
yeah, it's nice. But that's,
You ever go over there for the, wood fired pizzas?
no, but we see people coming all the time out our front door.
Yeah.
That must be pretty good, huh?
It's actually kind of a neat little thing to do on a Wednesday.
I don't have any. Let's put it this way, I move we accept the. Design is submitted.
I second.
Larry? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
So I was under the impression that it was advisory, so moving forward and voting on that is.
This just means next week when we go to the VDRB, we'll be able to tell them that design review didn't have any problems with your project.
Thank you very much.
which, given what occurred earlier, should be very.
Well, then again, we're not trying to tear down.
You're not tearing down the church. so-
We're not tearing down. the church.
Actually, it'd be nice if someone gave a grant to the church to restore that part.
Always looking for people to write grants if
Oh, my gosh.
you got some free time.
A very nice garden that faces us. The one that's in there.
So is your property, so is your.
We have the
property-
house with the blue roof, next to the yellow house.
The brick.
No, it's gray,
Okay,
the dormer facing the street
I
and
think I know which one.
yeah, blue roof.
Yeah. But I'm not usually on that side of town as much as I find myself. So I'm still just kind of sort of.
You're one of the congregants or?
No, I'm an early educator.
Oh, okay, so this is your program,
Yes, so this will be my program. I'm the program director.
great.
Okay.
Wonderful.
So we're very excited. Well, thank you guys very much for your time.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
No worries, glad you could get on the agenda. Okay, you only meet every other third or every 2 weeks.
A lot of our timeline was, built around, the zoning of the 24th. And this meeting, so a lot of our procurement of the fencing, installation, or setting up. A lot of pieces have been revolving around this, so we're very excited to have it in place, and this good plans that are very excited
Great.
as well. Everyone's very happy.
Good,
Thank you all. for
glad to
joining
hear.
in.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Okay.
Minutes?
Yes, they looked fine, I read
Yeah.
them.
Good with the
I move that we approve the minute,
second that.
all those in favor? Okay.
Anything else on your agenda?
The only thing, Emily, I would ask again is, maybe you'd be kind enough to recirculate the, criteria that you would come up with,
Right,
because I want to remind the members to sort of always look at, that would each application.
mm,
And the other thing is that I sent you a copy of my notes from the meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, and Emily was there too. As soon as we can get a template of some sort for drafting the standards, that would be appreciated. I think,
okay,
Charles said they had some or something. Remember the representatives from Two Rivers said that they highly recommended each of the individual committees adopt
for, like,
standards.
board standard, okay, sorry, I designed.
So some of them were, I think, just personal in nature, like, don't say anything to spirit, the stuff Eric was bringing up, but I think mainly they were templates for standards, design standards, whether it's for the Conservation Commission, this group, South Woodstock.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, that would be a good follow-up, because then we can look at those together.
And it was my understanding, reading your notes, that I think a couple of us on the committee were wondering if there was any possibility of going beyond an advisory role and really having some legitimate say in things, and it sounds like that's a moot point. That really,
Well, I don't.
that's who we are.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that didn't come up at that meeting because it was just a meeting concerning coordination of the three groups, and
It's come up in other conversations with Two Rivers. It really looks like we're bound by state law there, that,
That's what I thought I read in something.
that
was
groups
certain-
like ours are advisors.
Yeah,
But that's why he said if you have very well-written standards, and kind of coming back to this, then the groups that are decision will have very solid reason for their actions. Like, for example, so what are you gonna tell the developer? Well, had we cloaked our response against 6 different standards or something.
Right.
It
it
would have,
feels more natural to them.
Yeah.
And
and defense legally.
yeah.
I'll also throw out there, I understand both of your professions and interests here. The DRBs also look at design review standards, that's part of their job, so if you want to have more. I don't know.
You mean the development review? Yeah.
You know,
So if we want to, what were you saying?
maybe you're on the wrong board, if
Oh.
you're, if you're looking
Yeah.
for a different
Yeah.
role, what
Mhm.
all I was.
Well, it is interesting because I've been looking at different standards nationwide. And some of them are mandatory. And then basically it becomes a staff function, whether something is meeting that. For example,
They made mandatory through zoning laws or historic.
yeah, I think there's zoning laws that, reference the standards,
Okay,
like Montpelier's. They redid their zoning first, then they came out, on the zoning guidelines. I thought I might call up, the couple of people that Emily gave me and just, you know, have a chat with them a little bit more about that, because you know, everyone wants to contribute, but like you said, if the state law is the way it is, then we've got to kind of figure another way, and I think that's what they were getting at, like, it is law, but there's a way to buttress whatever findings you have that would be less amorphous.
Mhm. Okay,
I'm surprised we didn't hear from Bev.
I know,
I hope she's okay.
Yeah,
yeah, she's usually responsive to text or email.
yeah, and I kind of thought she was getting back into her saddle, but I got such a nice note from the library. 'Cause,
Sorry, do you mention?
yes, let's adjourn.
Yeah,
That was part of what Eric was saying too. That was a very nice note from the library, because we had made a contribution and